On this edition of the Rev Cooks, the Rev's making breakfast. What are we making for breakfast today? The delicious and hearty, protein-packed sheet pan pancake. Hey everyone, Rev Blake Dog here. So today is like a Saturday here, and if your family's anything like mine, when you got time, sometimes you want to sort of make something that will carry through a week or so, or at least through the early days of the week. So that's why we kind of came up with this what we call protein sheet pan pancakes. It's a kind of a hearty breakfast sort of a meal, and what you can do is, like, I'm going to make it today and on Saturday, and what I'll do is then I'll have it available for much of the beginning of the week. So like when you're, say, going back to school or something, and there's that chaos of like getting into a new routine or a new rhythm, this is great for that, because you can make it on Saturday, you bake it in a sheet pan, as you'll see, and then you can just sort of have it for like the beginning part of the week, or maybe even all the way through the whole week, because it kind of makes a good amount. So you just slice it little pieces, and you kind of warm it up during the week and give it to the kids or whatever, and get them out the door quickly off to school. So, but whatever you want to use it for, but that's kind of like where we sort of originally started using this. It's a great hearty, protein-dense meal. So let's get moving on it. All right, so what we're gonna do is we're gonna start by mixing together really the wet ingredients, and then we'll add all the dry ingredients to that. So like I said, this is early Saturday morning. I'm really the only one that's up here today. And that's fine, I don't really mind. My wife is actually out of town, so I'll go ahead and make this, and then it'll be ready for the week here, so that's good. So start off with 2 eggs, and if you wanted to make this more of like a vegan meal, you sure could. It's just, you'll have to use some sort of an egg substitute, but I don't really, I don't eat vegan. I don't mind if you do, but nonetheless, I don't. So 2 eggs. We're gonna give those a little bit of a quick scramble here, just to kind of get them broken down a little bit, okay? All right, nothing real fancy, just a nice little quick scramble there, okay? To this, we're gonna add 2 cups of milk. You can use whatever milk that you like. Again, if you wanted to make this a little bit more of a vegan thing, you could use some sort of a milk substitute. And it doesn't really matter how much the fat content is in the milk. I'm using whole milk here today because that's what we have. It doesn't really make a difference either way, okay? So with the eggs, the milk. To that, we're gonna add a 1/4 cup of melted butter. And when you're adding butter to something that has eggs in it, you might want to kind of whisk it as you add it in, so that you don't scramble the eggs, especially if the butter's hot like that. So go ahead and add that 1/4 cup melted butter, okay? Next up, we're gonna add to this some sort of a maple syrup. So you can use raw, fresh maple syrup. That's a little hard to come by in our area where we live, so I just go with some sort of a store brand maple syrup substitute. I mean, it's not really got any maple in it, but it's fine. So you're gonna add to this a 1/2 cup of maple syrup, or whatever syrup you have available. Obviously, real maple syrup would probably be ideal, because this has got like extra sugars and stuff in it, but you gotta use what you got. Okay, so 1/2 cup of maple syrup. Oh yeah, okay. We'll go ahead and stir that guy around a little bit here. All right. And then we're gonna add to this 2 teaspoons of vanilla extract. So my vanilla extract, I got some stickiness from the syrup on my hands here, so I'm gonna wash that off so that I don't have to stick to everything that I've got here, okay? 2 teaspoons of vanilla extract. So there's 1, 2. Okay. We're gonna go ahead and give this a nice stir. We want this stuff to be combined pretty well here. The maple syrup, the syrup that I use, the fake syrup, needs to kind of get dissolved into this liquid a little bit. So gonna give it a nice stir around till everything's nice and combined here. Okay, so it's got kind of a, tannish color to this. but that's all good, okay? Set those guys aside. All right, so now we're gonna start adding our dry ingredients in here. So what we're gonna start with is 3/4 cup of some sort of plant-based protein powder. You can use whatever flavor you like. This is the one that we just typically have. One of my kids likes his protein powder, and occasionally I'll have like a little protein shake or something if I just need some sort of a dense protein to settle me down for the day or whatever. But so 3/4 cup of plant-based protein powder. I suppose you could use non-plant-based, but I use plant-based. I'm using the chocolate here. I've never tried this with the vanilla, but I suppose it works the same. So plant-based proteins, I think, are really, this is a pea protein actually, but I kind of like the plant-based version of protein powder just because I feel like it's sort of better for the body in general, okay? And then we're gonna add to this 1/2 cup of white flour, all-purpose white flour. So let me get a 1/2 cup measure here. So 1/2 cup of all-purpose flour. And then 1.5 cups of whole wheat flour. So adding the whole wheat flour in here, again, helps to sort of make this a much more hearty and delicious meal. I mean, it's delicious anyway for breakfast, but having that whole wheat flour and the plant-based protein powders in there gives it a nice slow morning burn when you're using this to eat for breakfast. So there's the 1 cup and then another half. So 1.5 cups of some sort of whole wheat flour. Okay. And then we need, we're gonna add some baking soda and baking powder in here. So we need 2.5 teaspoons of baking powder. So let me get myself a nice dry teaspoon measure here so that we don't have any sort of a sticking with this, okay? So 2.5 teaspoons of baking powder. My baking powder is a little on the aged side here, so 1, 2.5 teaspoons baking powder. This is what's going to give you some of your leavening here that you want this guy to rise and really look like a pancake when we're done. As I said, it's just a big, basically just a large pancake that you're going to cut into squares and whatnot, okay? And then 1 teaspoon of baking soda. A quarter teaspoon of salt, whatever salt that you like to work with. I'm just working with sea salt like I typically do. So 1/4 teaspoon of salt. 1 teaspoon of cinnamon. So a teaspoon here of cinnamon. Yeah, nice cinnamon. Oh, love the smell of that cinnamon. Always smells like some baking is going on when you got cinnamon involved in this thing. And then, excuse me, just a little bit of nutmeg. You don't have to have like a measured amount, just a little pinch of nutmeg here. So a little ground nutmeg, just a little tiny splash there of that. That's good, okay? So we're gonna go ahead and mix this guy around here. Let me kind of move it around a little bit with my whisk first. So mix all that together, it makes a lot, so you're gonna wanna make sure you put this in a large bowl like this, okay? So I'm gonna give it a nice sort of initial mix with my whisk, just to get the pieces and the lumps all broken up. Oh yeah, smells good. Okay, and then I'm gonna finish mixing this with a spatula to make sure I get all the stuff off of my edges here, so. Make sure we get all the ingredients nicely incorporated here. Yeah. So again, if you use like a vanilla protein powder or something, it's probably not going to be brown. Mine's more brown because I used a chocolate protein powder. But I mean, whatever works for you, whatever you have available. Again, I suppose you could use, you know, a whey-based protein or whatever. But I particularly prefer the protein powders like the plant-based because I feel like I get enough dairy in other parts of my diet. Plus, I do have dairy issues. So Okay, and then we're gonna add to this a little extra kick to make it really kind of kid-friendly, to make it so that your young kids will really enjoy it. You're gonna add 1 cup, or as much as you want, of chocolate chips. This is about a cup, maybe slightly less, but it's what I have available. So I'm gonna go ahead and mix that in there. Just gives a nice little fun surprise, so that maybe your kids are gonna be like really into it. And hey, it's a chocolate, chocolate chip pancake, and so it's nice and easy, nice and delicious. You could add nuts or whatever else at this point. You can do that. So, okay. At this point, we're gonna go ahead and pour this into a pan. Let me go grab my pan, and then we'll sort of show you how to kind of pour this together. Okay, so I'm gonna put mine in a 10 by 15 pan. This is really kind of a well-used pan. Obviously, it's pretty grimy there. But we're gonna line this guy with some parchment paper, like this, okay? And then we're gonna just have a little light touch of cooking spray. I don't love using cooking spray, but just a light touch on that. It's gonna provide just a little bit of an extra barrier between your sheet pan pancakes and the pan. So it's not gonna maybe go in there well. I always have issues with parchment paper because I can't get it into the corners here. But this isn't gonna be like some perfect rectangle. It's gonna be whatever it is. So I'm gonna go ahead and pour our mixture in there now. So kind of start in the middle here. Kind of move around so you can see it. There we go. Oh yeah. And it's gonna just sort of move itself out to the sides as it goes. And we'll spread it out a little bit here once we get it all inside. So, looks delicious. And it is delicious. Okay, let me finish getting as much of this as I can out. No sense in wasting good food. Okay. All right, now we're gonna just spread this guy out a bit, as much as we kind of can. We wanna kind of get it, you can use a larger, smaller pan than this. Obviously a smaller pan would make these thicker, larger pan would make these thinner. I've got this 10 by 15, as I said, pan, and it seems to work okay for us. As you can kind of see, maybe you can't see, but it's got sort of a grainy-ish look to it. That's from all that protein powder in there. But hey, like I said, this is a great weekday sort of a meal. Make it on the weekend, and you can hold it over for the weekdays. And you want a little bit of protein in your breakfast. We eat a lot of carbs and sugars in our breakfast typically, unless you have sort of like yogurts or whatever. So it's good to have some nice, rich protein breakfast available, especially for kids. They're going to go into their classes. You don't want them sitting there starving by mid-morning. So having some good protein for breakfast is always advisable. So kind of get it like that. Give it a little shake maybe. Okay. Now we're gonna go ahead and pop this into a 400-degree oven for 18 to 25 minutes. You really kind of have to watch it a little bit because what you're looking for is for it to be cooked. So we're gonna go ahead and pop this in. Set the timer for 18 minutes to start. And then at 18 minutes, we're gonna check it. We'll use the toothpick test to see if it works, like stick the toothpick in, see if it comes out clean. If it does, it's good to go. So we'll give it some time and we'll check back in when we're about to pull it out. The irony of this is that I actually, of all the meals in the day, I absolutely love breakfast the most, but I just never have time to eat breakfast. So this is a good little meal to have ready so I can grab something and go. I'm just got such busy mornings that I just never have time, but I love breakfast. We are about a minute away here. Never mind my pot there. That's because I'm getting some coffee ready for myself there. So taking a quick look here. Let me grab a oven mitt. So if you take a look, it's puffed up quite a bit. You can hear it still bubbling a bit, so it's probably not quite ready, but we're gonna go ahead and give it a check. Like I said, we are right at about the 18-minute mark. Yeah, see, that's still got junk on it, not quite done. And that's sort of to be expected, so we'll go ahead and put this guy back in for, another 5-7 minutes or so, and we're gonna kind of keep an eye on it as we go. So I'll check back in when we're pulling it out. All right, so I think we're about done here. We're gonna pull this guy out, take a look. Look at how nice and puffy that is. Oh, baby. So I'll grab a toothpick. We'll give it a check here. So somewhere in the middle region, you want to poke that toothpick in. Look at that. Perfectly, totally clean. That's how we know it's done. We're gonna give it a little bit of time to cool, and then we can pull it out of the pan and chop it into nice little squares, rectangles, or whatever, and we can get on to eating a nice, delicious, protein-packed sheet pan pancake. All right, so it's cooled for a little bit here. Let's go ahead and take a look at this guy. So we're just gonna cut myself a little piece here because I'm hungry, waiting all morning for something to eat. Got my workout in, and again, Saturday morning, quiet around here. Oh yeah, look at that delicious steam. Drop that guy on there. Then you can top this with whatever you want. It's nice and thick and hearty. As I said, we did the chocolate version. I'm sure you can do vanilla, whatever. But so I would finish this guy off by maybe dropping a few blueberries on it. And they don't really stay on. Topping it with a little fresh whipped cream. That there is breakfast. All right, well, there you go. A nice breakfast meal you can make on the weekend. It makes a lot of it. You can let it cool, wrap it in saran wrap, or put it into individual squares or whatever to have ready to go. Heat them up first thing in the morning. Great for those weekday mornings. So I hope that this is something you like and you give it a try. So until next time, I'm Rev Blake Dog. Enjoy.
A Rev Blake Dog production.